107.5.
Coming to you live from our studios in Muizenberg, Cape Town, South Africa, and joined now via StreamYard with the CEO of Focus on the Family Africa, Graeme Schnell. Good morning, Graeme. How you doing, bud?
Good morning. Good morning. It's great to be with you guys.
So good to be with you too. We are super excited because parents are needing help. And to that effect, we here at CCFM, partnering with Focus on the Family, are going to be presenting some live in-person events. Graeme, tell us about the hashtag Well-Connected Live events, please.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's such an honor and a blessing to be partnering with CCFM on these events. We've had this long-standing relationship with CCFM that goes back, I think, both of our entire histories. So now to not just be partnering on a radio thing, but doing an event together is really awesome. But yeah, hashtag Well-Connected. It's all about raising safe, wise, and kind digital users. And the reality is that most of us, or many of us as parents, we didn't grow up with cell phones and internet and social media. And of course, we've become somewhat accustomed to it, but our kids are on apps that we don't fully understand. We don't quite comprehend the dangers. And not just there's dangers, there's challenges with social media around just emotional well-being, the fame and shame culture that exists. And so really these events are to help parents understand this world. It's a little bit of a shock to say, hey, this is what's going on. Christy, she has been working in this area for a number of years. She, in fact, spends, I think, 3 days every week at a high school building a curriculum around this, and also gets called by multiple schools, multiple parents. So she's got incredible stories. Some of them will shock. Some of them will be eye openers of what can happen to what you think is what you know is your sweet innocent child, but sometimes operating in a different way in this online world that they can kind of treat as something completely separate. So it's to be aware, to become aware, understand what's going on, and then help parents not just be aware of it, but what are the things that we can do to help really build safety and wisdom and kindness in our kids, because it's not just about protecting them from the outside world. It's also helping them in the way that they behave online. And so, yeah, lots of information, but really lots of practical tools that parents can take away that will help them. And a lot of it is around building a culture in your home around this online space. And a lot of those principles are the kinds of tried and tested principles that Focus on the Family has been speaking about for our whole existence, but with a nuance on how does this apply in this digital space, in this online world.
That is so brilliant. The segment that we normally have at this time of the morning is called Story of Hope. And I was really just pondering and thinking about this as to why we particularly are positioning this interview here. Because I know for a fact there are parents that are listening, are watching, and are saying, but I feel hopeless. And is there really hope? And the other side of that, of course, is you might feel very hopeful right here, right now. You might think like, hey, I'm doing great as a parent. Oh, all's going well. And just around the corner, there's something that trips you and your family up, trips your child up, and you all of a sudden feel very hopeless. So with regard to that, and in the space that we live in, with the world having changed and the whole migration to digital and all that's happening there, and the fact that you and I and every child can be influenced by so many people online through a little screen. Let me use my cell phone as an example. There's a lot of messages that come through on that little device, and it can really influence us. So it's so important, right, Graeme, for us to hear from somebody who isn't just got the head knowledge. Christy has actually done some hard yards herself. Tell us a little bit more about Christy. You already touched on a little bit, but tell us a bit more, because you've worked alongside her quite a bit. And I really want people to get a sense and an understanding of what an expert she really is in this field.
Yeah. Christy, I mean, she's got a background in journalism and education. and then she is married to a pastor, so they've been actually pastoring a church together. So she's got kind of all these multiple fields. But her journey with the chat started, and that's kind of the little organization that she leads, or movement that she leads, started with a group of friends who started saying, when should we be speaking to our kids about sex? When is the right time? How do we do this? It's like one of those difficult conversations. And so she said, you know what, I'm going to go and do some research and come back to you. And that began this movement called The Chat. And she actually wrote a book called The Chat, Birds, Bees, and Destinies, all about, and really for parents to read to young kids, sort of 7-year-old children, as a starting point to be a positive first mention around sex and sexuality, so that we can instill in our kids God's design for sex and how he created it to be a beautiful gift for us, before those kids get tainted by what they see as maybe a first mention on a screen from a friend who's showing them pornography. And it's a twisted view of actually what God created to be a good thing. So that was the beginning of this journey. And that kind of expanded because so much of that is around screens and digital and how it affects not just sexuality, but emotional well-being. So she branched into and spends a lot of her time now, not just talking about how do we speak to kids about sex, but how do we protect our children as parents from all the dangers that can exist online, but more so, how do we really equip them to behave well and be wise and kind in that space as well? And so because of this journey that she's been on, she's been invited to schools across the country. And then, as I said, she's working almost full time in a particular school. And so she's also got access to kids on a daily basis and hearing their stories, and then parents calling. She's intervening, and she gets called by school principals to say, please come, we've had a crisis. Can you help us deal with this? This is what's happened. Kids have got access to this material. What do we do? How do we deal with the parents? What are the steps that we can take? And so she's really got a lot of knowledge and understanding around this aspect. The more, I know we'll talk more about the morning event, but that's specifically speaking into online sex and relationships, this aspect of pornography, the sexual grooming that's taking place. And again, she's got stories, she's got firsthand experience, and she's built and is currently building even life orientation curriculums to help deal with the challenges that kids and parents and school communities are facing because of the rapidly changing online environment, new apps coming out, new trends and things that kids just get sucked into before parents really fully understand even the culture that surrounds it. So yeah, it's just a phenomenal speaker, sure. Great communicator, a lot of wisdom and heart. She's got kids of her own. She's living it out and she's seeing it on a daily basis. And some of the stories she tells, it's eye-opening. Part of this is to do a little bit of a shock, to say, guys, don't think that this is other kids. This is happening in the schools that your kids are at. And you need to be aware. But then, as you talked about hope, it's not about just saying, guys, it's a hopeless situation. It's actually that there's so much that we can do. There is so much hope that we can bring. It's like so many things, and it's probably a cliche. Technology is not evil in itself. In fact, it can be used for so much good. Right now, we're doing this interview over this StreamYard app, and I'm getting beamed out to your listenership in Cape Town while sitting in Durban, and it's video and audio. It's incredible. We just have to be aware and wise and educated around the dangers so that we can protect our kids.
Absolutely. Sure. Couldn't have said it better. Thank you, Graeme. And something we often say, Rachel and I often say, is you don't know what you don't know. And so, I mean, growing up, I remember that there were one or two naughty kids in my school, and they would go to the local cafe to buy those naughty magazines. And it was a big, like, oh my goodness me. But now the reality is, again, on this device, you can access all kinds of disgusting things. And so we need to understand that this is the world that our children are exposed to. And as you said, many parents live in that bubble thinking, but it'll never happen to my child. You don't know,
Yeah.
and something that shook me.
The stats have
Yes.
increased. I mean, she gives, I don't have them offhand, but in terms of like at its height, when you talk about those dirty magazines, I think it was Playboy at its maximum had like 60,000 subscriptions. And then she lists just one of the I think it's Pornhub that actually publishes its data. Most of them don't. And it's hundreds of millions of hits every day on that side. So the increase is staggering. But not only just the big issue there is just access and availability. But now they're also putting out stats, the number of even Christians that are engaging in this, because it just sucks people in. And so we've got to, as parents, again, do what we can. And the reality is we can't, as much as filtering things are good, and we want to put those hedges in place as much as we can. Really, what we've got to put energy into is building that culture within our home. That's both that encourages conversation, that encourages let's talk about these things, because they're going to come across these things, and not only just pornography, but all of the challenges in this digital age. We want to be able to have a conversation, let them not be hiding it and going to their friends around these things. Let's be the kind of parents that can graciously have conversations with our kids around these topics.
And I think also what's so scary as well, Graeme, is that they can have all of these apps open right next to their Bible app. And I think that is what's so scary. I mean, it's also freely available. But talk to us about what's happening next week. We're very excited about next week. We can't wait.
Yeah.
So tell us what's happening next week.
Yeah. Well, we fly in on the Monday. We're going to be with you guys, I think, coming into studio to do live with you, in person live with you on Monday. And then Monday night, we kick off with #WellConnected. That's the event we've been primarily speaking about, all about raising safe, wise, and kind digital users. That's a Desire of All Nations Christian Church in Ottery, so southern suburbs. Then we head over, that's so Monday night. Tuesday, the 30th, in the morning at Shofar Church, Durbanville, we're doing the online sex and relationships event. It's a breakfast event, so come early, grab a muffin and a coffee, and then we'll kick off at 9 sharp for the event. And again, just protecting your child against the allure and dangers of pornography and sex online. And then we'll do our final #WellConnected event, also at Shofar Durbanville, that Tuesday evening, the 30th. We really are very excited about this. It's awesome to be able to partner with CCFM. This is not just a focus on the family thing. This is focus on the family, partnering with CCFM. Bring your friends, bring your neighbors, tell as many people as you can that they need to be there, because this is, if I can tell you, the number of calls that we get as a ministry all about family, from parents battling with issues, so many of them are around this issue of how do I navigate screen time and social media, and kids are being caught on pornography. What do I do? There's addiction. So let me just say, if you're not in that space, as Jonathan said, get prepared, get equipped, that you can help steer your kids in a direction that they'll never be in that place.
That is so good. Such great advice. Graeme, that's where we're going to land it. But before we do, ladies and gentlemen, you need to book your tickets. $50 per ticket is what's the cost. And you can simply go to www.safamily.co.za/events. And you'll be able to find the Christy Herselman, write the event there and book quite quick and very easily. We need you to book for evening events, book for that one morning event. And again, the evening events, bring your teenager with. I think he or she needs to hear this. So bring them with. I think it'll be so, so good. Graeme Schnell, CEO of First in the Family, thank you so much for chatting to us this morning. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys. It's great to be with you. Looking forward to seeing you.
Yes, looking forward to having you in our beautiful city. God bless you and the rest of the team at Focus on the Family Africa.
Thank you. Blessings to you.